What's the dumbest thing you've done in your 20s? Not look after my teeth. Went to Italy and forget to eat pizza. Everyone wants to hear about dumb stuff like driving 8 hours to get with someone you liked only for it to end up being a booty call. However, I personally think it was my general lack of effort to build any good habits like exercise. Your body likes routines. And my routine of gaming for 15 hours a day was not one I should have cultivated. Drank my way through my entire 20s. After 25 it wasn't really fun anymore, but that didn't stop me. Drank for another 5 years. My 20s are a total blur splattered with some fun times here and there. But mostly just me running away from things with alcohol. Almost 17 years later and not one drop. My 30s and 40s are exceptional better. Fell into a debilitating drug addiction. I have 26 months sober on the 5th. I wanted to say so many things, but I read someone forgot to eat pizza in Italy. All of a sudden my dumbest thing wasn't so dumb. It even cured my depression. Thanks for all the upvotes and awards, guys. Got into a half-hearted relationship and wasted 3 years of my life. Not making long or medium-term plans. Edit. Wasn't expecting this many upvotes for a throwaway comment. There's no one right way to do life. Just don't be a cunt. While I'm here, fuck Vladimir Putin. Slava Ukraini. Hero I am Slava. Assumed climbing the corporate ladder is the way to do life. Decided against contributing to my company's matching 401k. Cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. I took powerlifting way too seriously. I spent 7 years in gyms. For hours every day. Skipping every social occasion and holiday. I didn't get as strong as I wanted to. I just got all sorts of physical issues to deal with for the rest of my life now. Worked way too hard and burned out. Sacrificed family time. Sacrificed health. Need to pace yourself at the age of 20 to 30. Drove 187 miles to drop her a scarf back that she left at my student house. Didn't even get a thanks. Just an Instagram story of her wearing the scarf out that night. Not getting help for my depression sooner. Spent the entire first half of my 20s in the darkest place I can imagine. And all I needed to feel better was some meds once a day. Broke a window with my forehead. Willingly. Don't ask. I was hopelessly addicted to heroin. That led to lots of shenanigans. Robbing summer rentals in the winter was probably the worst of it. I was eventually caught and served time. 14 years clean and living an extremely normal life now. Got married to the wrong woman. Never get married to someone who isn't sure if they love you. That person is damaged and needs space. Begged to be loved. Moved in with a girlfriend before finding out more about her preferences. We had been dating for a year, but I didn't realize how much a problem she had sharing until we lived together. We did for 5 years and never shared a bedroom. Had everything split down the middle, including the pantry and fridge. Even when it came to spices, she insisted on me getting my own. She hated it when I would be in the same room as her unless it was under her terms. Whenever I asked to make our relationship more of a shared experience, I was gaslit into believing I was wrong for not allowing boundaries. She moved out a month ago and I couldn't believe how quickly my mental health improved simply by not having that toxic influence around anymore. Not studying properly. At the time, studying for 2 to 7 years seemed like a lifetime. But now at 30 I wish I had done it. Don't have the money or flexibility to do it now. Edit. Thanks for all the upvotes, Scissor. Attempted suicide and fractured my C6. And C7. My ex. Got engaged to a horse girl. I do have a fully functional life, but in my 20s I definitely locked out of the door all of those basic experiences one should live at least once in life. I'm talking about taking an international trip. Or going at a concert or trying to get new friends and such. I mostly followed an unreachable professional dream. Which was such because I never intended to move out of my comfort zone in the first place. And then found some refuge and gratification in lonely hobbies I experienced at home. It took me a huge amount of guts to get out of that pond and start living a bit deeper inside. I still pay the price of such inaction today. And having professional and family responsibilities now doesn't help. Drink and drive. A lot. Never got busted. Quite stupid. I am now 5 years sober, unrelated. I say this from the bottom of my heart. There are friends, taxis, Uber, Lyft, etc. Utilize these for yourself. Spent an inheritance on cocaine. Got married. Followed by the smartest thing I ever did. Got divorced. Broke up with, what may as well have been, the greatest girlfriend I've ever had. 3 years later I'm still single and I think about her from time to time. Faked being depressed oftentimes and eventually got depressed. In 2007 I was living in Santa Maria Zapotitlan in southern Oaxaca, Mexico, helping out a colleague with his PhD research on the archaeology of the Chontal people. After a few weeks the village council asked us to find the source of a stream that flowed from within a mountain, so they could tap into it as a clean water source. They said to start at the back end of a large cave about an hour's hike away. We got to the cave, got to the back of it, and saw 2 small caves honeycombing into the floor that were just large enough for us to crawl into. We brought several headlamps, dust masks, and chalk. The 2 of us made our way down these caves, which began honeycombing even more into 3 to 5 passages per intersection. We drew arrows on the cave walls to help us find our way back. Some parts were large enough to walk through. Others narrowed to the point that we had to crawl or shimmy through. Eventually we lucked out and found a small passage. Again enough to crawl down. Where we found the stream flowing. Wouldn't you know? We even found some small, intact ceramic discs at the bank of this stream that were used in other contexts to burn incense. The fact that people hundreds or even thousands of years before us did the same thing, and knew where to go given the potential for many dozens of passageways, still blows my mind. Looking back, there were so many different ways to die and never be found in those caves. And the entire purpose seemed overboard since they could just tap into the stream by running a pipe 100 feet up the mouth. Ultimately, I suppose we just wanted to survey a cave as archaeologists in the off chance of finding something. Stuck with a girl who not only was full of red flags but then proceeded to have kids with her and got married only to have ruined and wasted 13 years of my life where I couldn't have friends, lost almost all of my family because they all disliked her two-faced self, and basically have only lived my 20s at a factory putting in overtime after overtime only to remain broke because the person I was with would go on shopping spreads rather than save for our kids' future. My 20s sucked, and now that I am in my 30s it doesn't look much better. I crashed a golf cart at 29. I was so fucked up with road rash. Both ankles were rolled and fucked up a one Achilles pretty bad. It took 2 years for one ankle to feel normal again. Still have a bunch of scarring. Have never fucked myself up so bad before. The road rash and treating it all over my body was one of the most painful things I've ever dealt with. I am so careful in those things now, and honestly just everything in general. Lucky I didn't hit my head. Took a $12,000 loan to buy a motorcycle. Didn't want to pay for comprehensive insurance. Bike got stolen 4 months later. Wasted it with the wrong person. Met at 22. Married at 25. Divorced at 28. My 20s were completely lost to an abusive marriage. 10 out of 10 would not recommend. Jumped from an express train going at a speed of nearly 40 to 45 km/h. No, not a suicide attempt. It's just that the train wasn't supposed to stop at the station I wanted to get off. So I jumped when it entered the station. Somehow landed on my feet and couldn't believe it. Had a smirk. And as soon as I looked in front, there was a policeman with a stick. Never in my life have I seen a policeman at that station. He casually asked me, "Did you just jump from that train?" I went blank. He said, "Okay, come with me. You're going to the station, police." Now comes the fun part. It's an early morning, and since the police station is within walking distance from the railway station, I am getting escorted by 2 policemen. One in front and other back. In the middle of both the station is the local market that sets up at the morning. It's crowded and everyone is looking at me. Some laughing, while police is making way. I lowered my head down, and the only thing coming to my mind is the walk of shame from God. Nevertheless, after reaching the stand, the policeman informs me that since it's Saturday, either you pay fine or be in jail till Monday, when they will produce me in front of judge. Begged a little. Spoken English a little. Acted sincere. Made sure they knew I'm well educated, and finally the senior guy let me go with a bribe. Was seriously disappointed with how a police station actually looks like. Am from India, by the way. Once me and my friends nicked a politician's car just out of curiosity of what's gonna happen, and boy oh boy, a lot happened. Edit. So we broke one side mirror of the car while it was parked in open ground, also surrounded by 10 other cars. There were no guards nearby, but the car started blinking its lights and the boys were just laughing when all of a sudden there were 10 guys with AR rifles with a jacked dude as their head guard surrounding us. I thought they were gonna call the cops, but they didn't. They took us to the security area and the first question the guy asked, "Who sent you?" We were kind of freaked out, but one of us answered it was by accident. A guard came ahead and smacked his face. He was the toughest dude among all of, but that day he almost started crying. This made me freak out a little more. The guard who had smacked one of the boys turned towards me and asked, "What do you have to say for yourself?" I stammered and tried to explain that we were just fooling around and that it was an accident. But the guard wasn't having any of it. He looked at me with a steely gaze and said, "You guys messed with the wrong people." Well, not exactly that, cuz I translated. As he spoke, I noticed a sense of fear in his eyes. It was almost as if he was afraid of what his superiors would do if he didn't handle us properly. I couldn't blame him. We had clearly broken the rules. And we were in a lot of trouble. They started checking out pockets for knives or any other damaging items. We didn't had any, so that made the situation a little lighter. They made us sit there for about 3 hours and also confiscated our phones, so there was no chance we could call anyone. We were still freaked out, but still chuckling when looking at each other. When it was time for the politician to leave, then the head guard finally spoke. "You're lucky we're feeling generous today. We're going to let you go only if you join the rally to lift the hoardings." It was not so strange request, as they usually have to hire men for that work. With that, we were out of the security area. The head guard proved all 4 of us with 4 flags. We were feeling shaken and humiliated. Soon there was a mob of about 200 people, which gave an easy way to lose the guards. A group of 15 or so people started an argument over which group will be with the leader's car, but the argument turned into a fight. It couldn't have been a better time to escape, so that's what we did. The security camp still had our phones, so next we went there, or rather I went there, cuz rest of them didn't seem to care about their phones. The camp had a guard who didn't recognize me for some reason. I told him that there was a brawl going on at the rally ground and they are calling the guards. That poor soul believed me and went straight to the ground. I couldn't believe he didn't even think twice. So I took the phones and also a lighter which was lying there, cuz why not? The boys were on the highway next to the ground. They couldn't see us cuz of the mob. I located them by complete luck. Our car was parked on the other side of the highway, so that was also an easy escape for us. As we drove away, I couldn't help but think about the consequences of our actions. We had put ourselves in a dangerous situation. And we were lucky to have gotten away. It was a lesson I would never forget. Ran up $11,000 worth of credit card debt over about 18 months when I was 25 to 26. I didn't become debt-free until I was 33. And never had an 800, excellent, credit score until 36. I cringe when I think how reckless some things I did were. But I remember turning 21 while being stationed in Germany, coming back from Iraq and going on leave with some buddies. Did some touring around beautiful Europe. In Prague we got some drinks and the place we were staying at had open access to its roof. We went up and drank and took in the night view until we were drunk and sitting on the ledge with our feet dangling and joking about how loose and wiggly the bricks we were sitting on was, truly loose, and laughing about how stupid it would be to fall and die in a random street in Prague. Better than a random path in Iraq. So dumb looking back now 16 years later. A lot of people would have been so pissed at me, lol. Grand of you to think that I stopped doing dumb things after my 20s. Dated the wrong people for access to sex. Knew at the time they were problematic, and it led me on a path of a lot of trauma and having the wrong view of the world. That took a while to dig out of. Hands down the dumbest thing I've done was sticking with my ex. That eventually clouded my judgment to a point where I turned to crime. This is going to be long-winded. But hear me out. I met this girl through my younger sister. I was 20 at the time and was studying to become an accountant. We were very happy in the beginning. And my friends and family loved her. I was just as close with her family. She is 2 years younger than I am. And had just finished high school when we met. Fast forward a year till when she started dropping hints about getting engaged. Like I said, we were happy and started discussing it. She started a job in logistical admin and I had a work-study agreement with a big accounting firm in my hometown. They didn't pay fantastic, but covered all my tuition fees. We eventually got engaged on the 31st of December at a party with our families that I arranged with the intention. Everyone was on board, despite our age, because they saw how happy we were. Little did they know what was about to go down. A few months later we find a place of our own and moved in together. The first 2 months went well. This is where it goes south. And quickly so. Whenever I started any conversation about planning and saving up for the wedding we would have after my graduation, she shuts me down immediately. And starts talking about going out with her friends that I didn't like to go drinking. At the end of the day we do what she wants and we would spend practically our whole paychecks on drinks for her. I was the driver. So I did drink whenever we went out. This then forced me to take money out of my savings to cover the rent and food for that month. And this went on for a month or two. Until it worsened. She reconnected with her old crush in month 4 of us living together. And they start spending more time together. At this point I stopped going out with them, as they want to stay out late during work nights. And she started doing cocaine with the guy. Whenever I bring up my issues she turned abusive by verbally and physically assaulting me. Threatening to stab me with knives, etc. The last time she did. She broke my nose after repeatedly hammer-fisting my face. My financial troubles set in after I depleted my savings having to pay rent, buy food, and put fuel in my car to drive her and myself to work and back. We worked on opposite ends of town. She never contributed a thing and spent her money on going out and drugs. And I eventually ran out of money. And did not have money for fuel. At this point I am so scared of her. That I don't want to tell her in fear of what she might do next. That I started taking my license plates off. Filling up my car at gas stations and driving away without paying. I did this a few times till I was outed with security footage that was blasted over Facebook. During this whole time I was too afraid to go to my parents asking for help. Because of my pride I couldn't swallow. I ended up losing my job and subsequently my studies. When she found out she ended things with me, moved back to her mom. A few days later she came to me and told me that she was pregnant and that it was mine. I took her to the doctor. Paid for the visit, the scans, the tests and everything. Just for her to turn around and come clean that it was the high school crush child after he asked for a paternity test. They are still together. And I got my life back on track. I finished my studies and am an accountant now. I paid everyone back and they did not press charges after I begged and pleaded. I am married now and couldn't be happier. I just wish I never met her. Gone to grad school. Nothing like getting paid a poverty wage to live in the most expensive city in the country. Sold my body for money and allowed myself to be abused and humiliated on nearly a daily basis. Turning 21 soon and I can already say the dumbest thing I've done is not working as hard as I should for my uni work. Thinking that the relationship I was in was going to be forever. Could not be more naive. Lots of random sex. Fortunately no pregnancies or infections. But I think I was too risky and practically saying yes to everything. I drove an hour back home from a party with 2 people in my car while drunk. The edges of my vision were blurred. But I figured if I just focused on what was in front of me, I'd be okay. The road was almost entirely empty. So I was able to drive from point A to point B without distraction. But all it would have taken was one thing to distract or startle me and it could have ended terribly. I never did anything that dumb again. Try to wife up the first girl I dated. Major mistake. Maxed out my 5,000 credit card on a girl so she could go to school and not graduate. I'm not with anymore for love. Lol. After some years my credit is back over 700 again, but I will definitely never do that again. Lol. Spent too much time thinking about the world's country's issues rather than figuring out how I wanted to make a living. You always think you have more time until life hits you in the face. And then you realize how much time you actually don't have. Letting my fears consume me. Married the wrong one. Had a kid together cause it would make me happy, so we will be happy again. 6 months later, I'm still not happy. I want a divorce. So 17. 5 years of child support, but worth every dime to escape. As 22M, just getting my life together. These are very informative. Thank you everyone. Not standing up for myself and let other pay walk all over me. Got married. Didn't ask for help when I got in trouble financially. I was sucked into payday loans, eventually owing thousands. Got so bad that my payments were more than my wages. Still struggling now, but almost there. Also refusing to pay 2 debts and getting 2 CCJs. One was for a payday loan that I felt was unfair, and second was for a parking fine. The original payment was 20p. I didn't buy because I thought it was after hours no payment, but they changed it to 24 hours pay anyway. I was there 12 minutes and they wanted £450 for failing to pay. Both cases court agreed with them and forced me to pay. Didn't recognize what an incredible woman I was with until it was too late. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.